To our May meeting of the Beaverton Bicycle Advisory Committee. My name's Mike Mulligan. I am the chair. And why don't we start by just quickly going around the Zoom field here and have everybody that's on the committee or is attending just do a quick introduction. So why don't we begin with Amy?
Hi, my name is Amy. I'm a junior at Westview and I am the youth liaison from the Mayor's Youth Advisory Board. I live in the Five Oaks, Triple Creek area, and I've been really enjoying the weather recently. I've been stressed out with some tests, so it's been nice to go outside and bike.
That's great. Nathaniel.
Hi, I'm Nathaniel May. I am an alternate on the committee since January, and I am also really enjoying the weather.
Hi, Amanda.
I'm Amanda Koppel. I'm a third-year member and I'm the current vice chair of the BAC. I live kind of near Nike, and it was really fun to see Nathaniel and John at the Fir Grove Bicycle Rodeo today.
Cool. Thank you for doing that. Michael Hashizumi.
Hi, I'm Michael Hashizume. I've been on the BAC since 2018. I live kind of right at where the Denny Whitford and Central Beaverton neighborhoods meet, and looking forward to the meeting.
Terrific. Hi, Caitlin.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Ahern. I think this is my second year with the BAC. I'm also super happy about this weather, and that's all I got. Happy to be here as usual.
Great. And Councilor Hasan.
Hey everyone, I'm Councilor Nadia Hasan. Fun fact, today is Eid. It's a religious holiday marking the end of Ramadan. So I'm actually in my Eid clothes. And I live in the Five Oaks Triple Creek area right off by Fred Meyer and Walker Road.
Wonderful. All right, Cara.
There we go. Okay, spacebar wasn't working for me. I'm Cara Lerwick. I live in Central Beaverton, or really closer kind of to Vose, I guess, actually, when I was looking at it on a technical map. But yeah, once again, I'm also loving the weather. Summer is basically here. I don't care about the calendar. It's summer now. And yeah, excited that I was able to come to this meeting.
Terrific. Well, welcome. Corey, good to see you.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Corey McManus. I live in the Vose area in the Wonderland neighborhood. I'm on the committee as an ex officio member from TriMet.
Great. And John?
Hi, everyone. I am John Vogler, and I'm fresh from the Fir Grove Bike Rodeo. And we, Amanda and Nathaniel and I roped a number of bicycles, and we tied them up, and they're in the crowd.
That's good to know. All right, and Jerome, you want to do a quick introduction, then we'll have you a little bit later when we have our council forum.
Yep, thank you. I'm Jerome Sibayan. I live in the Vose neighborhood. I'm on the Social Services Funding Committee, and yep, like you said, I'll introduce myself a little more thoroughly later on. Thank you.
Terrific. I think I got everybody.
You forgot me, Mike.
Oh, sorry, Jean, the most important.
I'm not sure if I'm most important, but hi, everyone. Jean Senechal Biggs. I'm the staff liaison to the Bicycle Advisory Committee. I am the Transportation Planning Manager. I'm from the Community Development Department here at City of Beaverton.
Terrific. And Israel, welcome back.
Yes, Israel Laureles. This is my second year with the BAC, and I live in the Saxon Mountain area. I'm not too far from actually Saxon Mountain Elementary School.
And I'm Mike Mulligan. I've been on the committee, I think somewhere in the neighborhood of 11 years, and currently the chair, and I kind of live in the fairly close to Saxon Mountain, between that and Murray Hill. So a quick review of what we're going to cover tonight. We'll take a look at our April minutes that Michael does such a great job of doing for us, and approve those. We'll have a chance for public comment. Then Councilor Hasan will give us a quick update from the council. We have some information from the city attorney as far as our ability to do advocacy as a committee member. So we'll kind of review that and answer any questions that you have. We have what we think is a final draft of our letter of support for the Westside Trail Bridge. And so want to have everybody review that and give any feedback so we can get that sent off. Then we're going to have our city council candidate form. We have an update from THPRD. Rene will be here to go over the Beaverton Creek Trail project. We also going to have Dan come back and give us an update on what's going on in the initial stages here with the Beaverton Downtown Loop project. Jean will give us some updates of what's happening in the city, and then we'll have time for member comments. And I think Nathaniel and I maybe will give you quick information of what we got from attending that Oats conference 2 weeks ago. And hopefully we'll have everybody out by 8:30. All right, so Jean, you want to bring up the April minutes and we can quickly review those. And anybody has any corrections or additions? If you've had a chance to look over them, otherwise we can do a quick perusal here. All right. Anybody have any corrections or additions? Please share those now. Otherwise, I'll entertain if somebody wants to either physically raise their hand or use their little virtual hand on Zoom here to make a motion to approve our minutes from April. And I cannot see everybody in the little squares. So Maggie or Jean, if you can watch and let me know. Okay, Michael is making a motion to approve them. Do I have a second? Amanda seconds it. All right, everyone hold up a hand if you say aye. Any nays and any abstentions? Israel, you weren't here in April, so that would just be an abstention.
I wasn't here either.
And Caitlin wasn't here as well. Perfect, they are passed. We move forward.
And Mike, I just want to note that Ananda and Michael Dunleavy just joined us.
Okay, perfect. Hey, Ananda. We just done we just did some introductions. You want to do a quick introduction for yourself, and we'll all be jealous of you sitting outside.
Yeah, my name is Ananda Vardhan, and I'm an Intel retiree. I live near Fredware Walker Road, and I've been the member of this for the past 1 year. And today morning I did the Beaverton loop, and I've done all the things they've asked us to do.
Perfect.
Yes, thank you.
And Michael, welcome again from, you guys still at the coast?
Yeah, although with the news today, maybe not that much longer.
Okay.
I saw Nike put something out about their return to work policy. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of employers end up following the September return date, and then 3 out of 5 days in the office. So interesting to see how that unfolds.
Well, welcome for coming back for another meeting.
Thanks.
Okay, so Maggie, do we have anybody in the public who's joined the meeting that we need to let in to be able to share any information or ask any questions with the committee?
We just have somebody from THPRD that's here who I will let in now.
All right. Well, certainly as we're going along, if anybody from the public is joining, by all means, let's let them in and can answer any questions or let them share information. Councilor Hasan, the virtual room is yours.
All right, well, I have my updates written down this time. So as you all know, we are about to hire a city manager. It actually happens to conflict. There is a community forum happening right now to learn about the candidates. And so folks from the community are listening in, hearing from the candidates. We've got 2 finalists, and there's a ton of information on both of them if you want to learn. And then tomorrow, council will come together for a special executive session to hopefully make a decision on a city manager. And this hire is going to be really crucial in terms of being able to start the work, which it feels like it's been a little bit on pause. We are also going to be heading really deep into budget meetings this month. May is budget month. And so we have anywhere from 2 to 3 meetings a week starting next week, I believe. And so we're talking a lot about budget, how we're spending our budget. And then just to bring y'all back, like city council, right? So we have a slightly newer council, right? We have 2 new members that started in January, and kind of trying to get caught up, and then having an interim city manager. I don't know that a lot of us got to weigh in a ton on the budget. So it'll be interesting to see how our budget conversations actually happen. Because I think for us newer people, like we're like, well, we want to learn about this, or we might want to do this, or we want to try this. So it'll be interesting to see how our budget conversations continue. And then I like to give a plug for the Beaverton Night Market. They're doing recruiting right now for vendors. So if you know folks in the community, specifically in Beaverton, or folks from some of our more underrepresented communities, the Beaverton Night Market is a really, really, really cool thing that we do in the downtown area, where we get vendors and we try to it's an amazing opportunity to show culture. So if you know folks, I'll drop something in the chat so that you can get in touch. So I think those are my main things from a city perspective. If I'm missing anything, I'm sure Jean will help me come back to you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for the update. Anybody, any questions for Councilor Hasan? Well, if things come up during the course of the meeting, we'll bring you back in the conversation, and please add in as we're going if you have any insights from councilor perspective to what we're talking about. All right. So, Jean, should we bring up that advocacy in the committee from the city lawyer? And
which I did get a chance, Jean. I don't know. Did Bill reach out to you? No. Okay. I'll let you talk, but I have some follow-up that I'll just share.
Sorry, it takes me a little while to find my mute button when I have screens, participant panel, sharing a screen. Anyhow, I've not heard from Bill, but this was information that I received from Grace. Mike, do you want me to speak to this? You want to introduce this? Okay, sure, I will introduce this. This was all in an email that I sent to you. And if you remember at our last meeting, Annie, and by the way, for those of you who joined late, Annie isn't able to join us this evening, so she called and she emailed me and sent her regrets. But she had asked about some legislation that was that's being considered down in Salem. And then I heard later from Ananda asking about, could the BAC endorse this measure? And I reached out to our city attorney's office to ask, how does this work? And so I shared this guidance with Mike and Ananda, and we thought it would be good to just have a little bit of time on our agenda this evening to give you all a chance to kind of review it together or ask any questions. If I know an answer, I'll answer it. If there's a question that I don't have an answer to, then I'll go back to our city attorney's office staff and ask them for more guidance. So, basically what I learned is that your time here as a board, as a board member, as a commission member, is that you aren't able to use this time to take a position on a particular measure, nor are you allowed to endorse a candidate. right? So we're sort of you're remaining neutral. And that's why your time here in the meetings, or whether you're doing anything sort of officially in your capacity as a member. But what we also learned is that you are able to, if you're doing things on your personal time, that's fine. And that's a time when you are able to use your titles as members of the Beaverton Bicycle Advisory Committee. So that was the information that she shared, and I'll just stop there and let you guys chime in with any questions you might have. Does it make sense to people? Anybody have any questions having read it?
I'm just curious, could you refresh my memory? What were we being asked to endorse?
Oh, it was Annie had brought up, I want to say it's Senate Bill 365. I can't remember. I think that's the right number.
That sounds right.
It's a bill that the Street Trust has been spearheading the advocacy work around the state on. And she had been at an event that the Street Trust has hosted. And so that was sort of what prompted her to ask about it. And then it was Ananda who came back later and said, hey, I've looked this up and think we should endorse it. So we weren't necessarily, it was more of a open-ended question. We weren't really considering anything. It just kind of, I think it just kind of bubbled up in the conversation. That makes sense? Yeah. I'll just say one thing too. Does that help, John? Yeah. I'll say one thing too, just as a longtime public employee, sort of the reminders about what we are and aren't allowed to do is a good sort of general practice to sort of remind ourselves of the kinds of activities we can engage in, whether a public employee or a board or commission member. So I'm glad this topic came up because it's an important one to just be aware of kind of what the rules are around that. So we try to cover things in the trainings that we offer for all of our new board and commission members. But it's always good to have a reminder.
And
Great.
I just want to weigh in because I did ask Bill, our attorney, to get more clarification because I think it's really important that while we can't in this time, I want our community to feel empowered to be able to say, oh my gosh, there's this issue that we care about. We can't care about it between 6:30 and 8:30. And we need to be thoughtful about how we use our time and how many people can be in a meeting and how many people can be on an email. But I truly believe that if we're going to want to see the change that we want to see in our city and our state, it will come from knowing about some of these things, which is hard because you can't track 1,000 bills. But some people do track 1,000 bills. And so just I'm working on with Bill. He called me already and I was like, I just want to make sure, I want to empower folks that there's some stuff that's being worked on in the state, and y'all want to do something with it. If you're not doing it between, on the second Thursday between 6:30 and 8:30, please do, because that is how we'll start to see the change that we want to see. And, you're all as individuals able to testify, you're able to submit testimony. And as I'm learning myself, kind of navigating what testimony means and what testimony looks like, I really feel it's important that we all learn that and use that if you would like to. So I'm getting more clarification from Bill to make sure. It sounds like everything's really clear though. I think, thanks Jean for reading that. And my first gut was like, well, we got to let people know the things so that they can do the things. And now I think I have a better sense. And so we might try to get a little bit more clarification for y'all too.
Perfect. That'll be good to have ongoing information on how we can navigate that situation.
Mike, I see Michael's got his hand up.
Okay, Michael. How's it, Jimmy? Yes.
Yeah, sorry if this was already covered, but so in our own personal time, not during Thursdays from 6:30 to 8:30, we can advocate, submit testimony, etc. It sounds like we can say, I am a member of the BAC, but we can't say the BAC is doing X, Y, or Z. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So you can identify yourself as a member, but you all as a collective sort of board aren't able to make any official endorsements or decisions around measures.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And I think that also brings up the point, sometimes like if you're at events and somebody from the press or something of that nature comes up, then just that clarification on how you're speaking is, I am a member and sharing your personal opinion, but you can't be representing the BAC to the press. Is that right, Jean? How we have to sort of have those conversations? Or?
That's a good question about sort of how to handle yourselves with the press. I might go back and ask more about that one.
I kind of recall that was, we could say we were a member of, but we weren't speaking for.
We weren't speaking for, right. Let me go and get some clarity around that. I think you could, I think you can still use it to identify yourself, but let me confirm that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I assume the
situations have come up where there's groups have reached out or wanted to talk to a representative of it. So being able to kind of clarify what we can communicate and how we communicate it and how we're representing the city or things of that nature.
I assume that.
Sorry. Go ahead, Caitlin.
You had brought up events, and I assume that the exception would be if you were at a BAC event, like if you're at Beaverton at the BAC table wearing a shirt, you still can't advocate anything, correct? Yeah. I was in AmeriCorps, it was the same way. It's hard.
Yeah. If you're doing something in your official capacity, like we have like as you said, Brett, where you're staffing a booth and you're there in your official capacity. And I'll say too, if anything ever comes up and you're just not sure, just reach out and we'll get you an answer, right? Don't hesitate.
Good. Any other questions, comments? All right. Well, thanks so much for that, Jean, and kind of helping clarity and go back and get more information for us. So for the next one we have on our docket is the letter. So should we look at that? And first off, I want to give a big thanks to Ananda and to Amanda and John as well looking at it. And just your input was really helpful as we were kind of cobbling this together. And I appreciate everything that you did in working on it. So I hope everyone had a chance to give it a read, and please feel free to make any comments or do any further wordsmithing. Give us any other suggestions that you might have, and then we can get this sent off.
Yeah, right. I'm happy to, if folks have suggestions on any edits. I have this set up. I have track changes on, so if anybody wants me to type anything in, we'll see it as a change while we're all here. Any questions come up about the letter after I sent it or after you read it?
So I had a question. Yeah, so today we received an email about the CIP, the cost improvement plan or something like that. We got an email. I think all of us got that, right?
Right, this morning.
It's a capital improvement plan. So the capital improvement plan does not include this particular change. So will it come in the next phase?
No, because this is not a City of Beaverton project. This is a project that's being managed and will be built and be a bridge that would be owned by THPRD. So it should be in THPRD's capital plans, or at least somewhere in their budget. They're doing the planning right now. I don't know what they have in terms of funding to actually build the project. I know they still need funding to build it. So yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? Does it look good then? I think, Mike, you need to ask for
Now we have
something.
to have a, all right.
Make it
That's my
official.
official capacity. Let's have someone who wants to make a motion to approve our letter. Raise a hand. Okay, Ananda.
We've got a couple hands.
All right, and who's another one raising a hand for?
We had
Okay, all
Cara
right,
have a
second
hand
it.
up.
All right, so raise of hands. Everyone approve their letter. All right, it passes. Anyone disapproving? Seeing none. All right, we can send this off. Do we actually need to have signatures, do you think, Jean, or can you just send it with our names?
Let me, we had it with you, Amanda and Ananda signing. So I'm always a fan of a signature that looks like a real signature, but we can talk via email and get that sorted out.
How you want to do that?
Yeah.
Terrific. Yeah, I thought it really did a good job of collecting, capturing everything that we talked about as a group and really did a good summation. So I'm happy with that. All right. So we're at 7 o'clock and we've got a little time before, why don't we go now, jump down a little bit, and Jean, do you want to do the City of Beaverton updates?
Yeah, let me do our updates. Yeah, so hold on, let me find that. Okay, great. So yes, I had I shared with all of you via an email the May city update for NACs and boards and commissions, and I'll just give you the highlights. But you have you all have this in an email. Councilor Hasan already mentioned the city manager hiring process. Our recruitment continues, and going on right now is the virtual event for the community to hear from our 2 finalists. If you want to check it out later on after tonight, if you go to beavertonoregon.gov/city-manager, all of the information about the 2 finalists are there, and the recording of tonight's event should be posted there. Maybe give it a day or so before it appears. Let's see, and then a survey to assess community preferences on each of the candidates will be distributed afterwards to help council hear from members of the community with their decisions. And then appointment by the city council is expected to occur. It says here in summer. I think we're hoping sooner. As Councilor Hasan said, the council's meeting tomorrow to talk about and share their thoughts and reflections on the 2 candidates. What else? Free tax help has been extended. So Cash Oregon and Metropolitan Family Services continue to offer tax preparation and filing through Thursday, July 15th to Beaverton residents. So I think most of us probably know that the IRS extended the tax deadline this year because of the pandemic to May 17th, which is Monday. So beginning May 27th, that assistance is going to continue after the deadline. You can call 503-966-7942 to make an appointment, or go to cashoregon.org. So it's a great service for people that need that assistance. And then one other piece of news is that city council meetings are moving to 6 p.m. They're now going to be holding them at 6 instead of 6:30 while the current state of emergency is in effect. That started this month in May. And if you go to beavertonoregon.gov/city-council, that's where you can find agendas and additional meeting information for those of you who are interested. As Councilor Hasan shared with us, we're heading into the budget season, planning ahead for our new fiscal year that starts July 1st. So the budget committee meets next week and the following, and then the city council will be having more hearings on the budget as well to adopt our budget for fiscal year 21-22. So those were the main city updates. You're going to be hearing more later on about major transportation projects within my division and community development, the Beaverton Downtown Loop, Dan Turk's coming back. And then we also have some guests from THPRD joining us this evening to talk with us about the Beaverton Creek Trail project. So those are my quick updates. Anybody have any questions? Anything else that you want to ask about while I'm here? Great. So Mike, I am going to suggest, since we're ahead, we're about 10 minutes ahead. We can either do member comments, we could see if Gary and Rene want to do their presentation a little earlier, or we could have Jerome get his 10 minutes. What do you think? Jerome gets his 10 minutes. Ashley might be here right at 7:15.
I'm game to go if you guys are.
Okay. Jerome, do you mind sitting through this presentation and then we'll get to the forum? I can't remember if you said you need to be anywhere else.
Yeah, I have a meeting to join after this one, but I'm fine
Okay.
either way.
Well, I can wait.
Okay.
Right. Why don't we do our quick member comments, see if that can bridge us to the 7:15. And then we can go from there, if you think that would be all right, Jean.
Okay. Sure, I think so. Can you guys
Okay.
talk for 10 minutes? Amy has her hand up, but I also
Sure.
want to ask the three folks who went to the bike rodeo to tell us more about the bike rodeo. Okay.
Okay, Amy.
Okay, yeah, I just have a quick announcement about MYAB. Right now, our applications are open for the board. So if you know any high schoolers or 8th graders, make sure to encourage them to apply. The application ends next Friday. And we're looking for people who, are really passionate about our city and about advocating for change for youth and all of our future goals. So yeah, there's no GPA requirement. We just ask for really passionate individuals, and yeah, encourage anyone you know to apply.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. And Amanda and John and Nathaniel, you want to tell us the experience of the bike rodeo? John, did you find your 10-gallon ANSI Snell approved cowboy hat?
I thought it was a good event. I was surprised at the number of people that showed up, and it seemed to be well run, and had a good time. I think we could do a lot more of things like this and get everybody involved. So I thought it was all good. I really did.
Great.
I have volunteered before at lots of events, and I have never felt more appreciated than I felt from the folks at Fir Grove. They were like just all over themselves to tell us how much they appreciated our efforts. And I didn't feel like we did a ton, but it was fantastic. The kids were great. It was really cool to see the diversity of kids, the diversity of bikes that they were riding. There was a kid on a probably 75 or 80 pound tricycle cargo bike. And we were like, okay, let's move the cones around so that we can fit your gigantic bike through. It was amazing. I loved it. And I would highly encourage anyone that wants to just have their spirit lifted, take advantage of that in the future. It was great.
Yeah, it was fun to see all of those kids working on their skills, and it takes you back to when you were a kid trying to learn all of those skills. And just everybody at that event was very lovely. It was a very chill vibe. You could just see people were happy to be out there in the weather on their bicycles.
The cargo bike, any particular kid or story that really sort of stuck with you or jumped out? Or
other than the kid on the cargo bike, there were so many kids that were on bikes that were either too small or too big for them, and it made me remember how valuable Bike Beaverton is, just as another opportunity for people that are really interested in bikes and want kids to have great positive experiences to kind of help people navigate figuring out what bike is going to be the right bike for their kid, and where those resources are to help them find bikes that are affordable and accessible for them.
Something maybe for us to kind of look at, or how we can help facilitate something like that with the Safe Routes to School program. So Nathaniel, I know you also attended Oates. What's anything that jumped out at you, or which days you were able to attend, or what you were able to, sessions you were able to listen in on?
Yes, the history of Oregon transportation was incredible. I did not know how long OR8 has been in existence and its original purpose. I mean, obviously its purpose was to help transportation, but just as a connector between the metro area and the outlying areas, that was super interesting. My main takeaway was that I do not know very much about transportation, and I have so much to learn. And what it did more than anything else was light a fire in me to learn more and to be more of an advocate for underrepresented communities who are really taking the short end of the stick on a lot of transportation issues. And it, you know, I complain about traffic. There's a lot more serious things than traffic affecting people in our area.
Right. Yeah, so I was able to attend on the Thursday, and I listened in about the human-powered mobility for resilience and equity. So they're looking particularly in Portland at the situation with when we have the big one with the earthquake, and the role that bicycles can be playing in that. And looking at the past year as also being a little bit of that practice for it, and seeing how bikes are being incorporated for deliveries and other areas of that nature. So it was kind of interesting looking at which bridges they expect to remain intact, and looking at what are going to be the routes that people are going to be able to use, looking at slow streets, and seeing what they've done as far as building out structures with like the restaurants, and having that flexibility that we needed outdoor seating. So being able on some of these slow roads to be able to introduce that. So just having that flexibility in how you're adjusting the planning was pretty interesting with that. And I also listened in on the Safe Routes to School, their project. And what's really neat is down in Eugene is they, I think, got a grant through Huffy. And so they provided the bikes. So the Safe Routes to School program have the bikes that they're able to bring into the schools. And they were getting, I think it was challenging during COVID, getting the buy-in from the PE teachers as kids were starting to get back to school, but they were able to do some things out in the playgrounds, and they were showing some videos, and just you saw about the joy of the kids. It's like they start out, they're using scoots. So it's the scooting, and then getting to the point that they're able to start pedaling, and just that joy of they're actually starting to do the balance on the bike was really cool to see. But they're also talking about sort of any perceived barriers, like where schools are up against parks, and being able to having the barriers of fences or things like that around schools, and how that can be preventing access to those areas. So it's kind of interesting looking at sort of the totality of how we can look at bikes and things with the Safe Routes to School, and really helping to set an environment where people are able to access public spaces more easily. So I thought it was, overall, it was a really good event. I'd encourage people in the future, if you have a chance, to take advantage of this and to listen in.
Caitlin, did you attend as well? Oh,
yeah,
sorry,
I was
Mike.
there through work. So I was there for all the days. My favorite was drag bingo, personally, at the end with Poison Waters. That was great. But a couple that stuck out for me were, one of them, community engagement is not community outreach. That I'm just looking at my notes. The difference between the two, and like outreach can be more like informing people after the decisions have already been made, and then engagement is hopefully getting towards like empowering the community to make their own decisions and plans and everything. So that was cool. In particular, she had a slide that was it was like the spectrum of public participation, which is like inform, consult, involve, collaborate, empower. And we want to be over to empower as much as we can be, but it was all great. It was all good stuff. So I also recommend it.
Terrific. Any questions at all from anybody, or?
I was curious if, and I don't know if anyone knows if any of these presentations are available online, like if they were recorded. I'd love to see some of the ones you folks earmarked.
I believe they're recorded. I don't know. I'm looking at them on my screen, but I'm like logged in as an attendee. So I don't know what it's like. Click on, I put a link in the chat. See what you find there. They may be available for a fee. They may be available for free. I don't know, but give it a shot. See if that link opens up. And actually, Nathaniel posted one specifically for a presentation that he liked. So see what works. Okay. You guys made it to 7:15.
We did. All right, so we are at our point. We're going to have our city council candidate forum. And so we have Jerome Sibayan here, and then Ashley Hartmeier-Prigg. Welcome so much to our Bicycle Advisory Committee. And the structure that we had was we'll have Jerome go first and then Ashley, and each candidate will have 10 minutes to do their presentation and then entertain questions from our committee. And Jean will be keeping times as far as that 10-minute phrase, so just kind of keep you updated as where you are on time frame. So let's kick off. And Jerome, if you want to unmute and join the committee and share what you want to share.
All right. Well, thank you for your time this evening, and thank you for your service on this committee. My name is Jerome Sibayan, and I'm a candidate for Beaverton City Council because I am a public servant and I want to serve the people of Beaverton with honor, integrity, and respect. My platform is based on the curious notion that government exists to serve all of the people. I am the son of Filipino immigrants and was raised in Salem. I now live in the Vos neighborhood, just a few blocks south of the main library. I have enjoyed participating in the Bike Beaverton, Bike Around Town, as I call it, event. And I also walk and bike downtown several times a week, weather permitting. And so I am intimately familiar with that sweet spot on Hall Boulevard between Farmington and Canyon, where the bike lane magically disappears and you get to, you know, duke it out with traffic and buses. And yeah. I am a veteran. I am a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel, and I served for 28 years in war and peace around the world and throughout the United States. And I served because it was the right thing to do. I am a licensed professional engineer with bachelor's and master's degrees in civil engineering. Let's see here. As a former public works director, I understand the importance of infrastructure to a sustainable and resilient city, and I will advocate for a true multimodal transportation system that enhances mass transit, protects bicycle safety, and encourages pedestrian travel. I'm an educator. I have master's and doctorate degrees in history and political science. I taught courses on healthcare inequities and human rights at Portland State University, and I currently teach I currently teach graduate courses on national security and critical thinking at the Army War College. Like you, I am a community volunteer, and I understand the deep personal investment in time and energy it takes to voluntarily serve the people of Beaverton. And I have served the people of Beaverton through the Human Rights Advisory Commission, the Social Services Funding Committee, Community Emergency Response Team, Beaverton Severe Weather Shelter, Beaverton School District Bond Accountability Committee, and Home Plate for Homeless Youth Board of Directors. I also serve with Engineers Without Borders, Community Engineering Corps, and the Education First Scholarship Foundation, all benefiting traditionally underserved communities. I am grateful that my military pension and ongoing teaching allows me to continue my long tradition of public service and to self-fund my campaign. If I'm elected, I will donate all after-tax counselor compensation to local nonprofits doing good work right here in Beaverton. I will serve the people of Beaverton with honor, integrity, and respect. And I have a few points more that I want to cover before we get to some questions. I want to mention, that I am self-funding this campaign primarily because I can. And I find it unconscionable to ask people for money when I can fund this campaign myself. And it's unconscionable to ask people for money. My neighbors are collecting bottles to pay their bills. And it just doesn't make sense to ask them for money or anybody for money. We're just on the front edge of a pandemic recovery, economic recovery. It just doesn't make sense. And frankly, I do find it easier to make fair decisions when I'm not trying to figure out who I need to repay for political compensation. So the impetus for me running was the charter, and full disclosure, I did support adoption of the charter. But I find the charter, the new city charter, which creates this council manager form of government, to be a little nuanced, highly nuanced actually, ambiguous, and self-contradictory. And I intend to implement the city charter in the most practical and reasonable ways. And I think the city council has a responsibility to communicate, educate, and inform the public and the people of Beaverton exactly how their government works. And that's the basis of a functional democracy. I think that the councilors, in addition to attending all boards and commissions, like Councilor Hasan is here tonight, I think a council representative should attend every one of the neighborhood association committee meetings. Got it. And that's just a form of communication and transparency. And it's an opportunity, golden opportunity for the council to educate the people about how the government works. As a former public works director, one of the tools we have is something called a master plan. And the master plan is a 5, 10, 15, 20-year outlook of exactly what's going to happen in the city. And it's hard work. And I know that we have the visioning action plan, we have the comprehensive plan, but the master plan connects this vision, this grand vision of the city with solid engineering, planning, and design. And I think that's what the people of Beaverton deserve to have, is a master plan. And finally, I'll mention the loop, but I know it's on the agenda for a little later on. But I encourage you to think of the loop as a destination unto itself, rather than just an appendage to connect the city, the downtown sections. I have some ideas. I'll be glad to share them with you offline. I'll type my email address in the chat, and I'll be glad to chat with you about my ideas for the loop. But I encourage you and everybody to think big and dream big about the loop, and not just how to cross the road safely. It can be a destination unto itself. So with that, Mike, I'll just open it up for any questions. I think I have a couple minutes. I'm sorry, Gina. It's what I got.
Thank you so much, Jerome. Any questions from any of our committee members? So just quickly, as far as your role being doing the public works management experience, as far as implementing bike lanes or any of that, just kind of curious background, your experience with that.
Well, so I was the public works director for the largest military community in Europe, and had a budget of $70 million a year and 300 employees. But our reach was pretty broad. But one of them was making sure that folks could get to the schools safely, and making sure that there were safe bike paths there. We generally tried to not put bike lanes on the roads. We try to have them meander through the neighborhoods and things like that. So.
Okay, interesting. Any other questions? How are we on time, Jean?
2 minutes.
Just one real quick question. I don't know if you said in the beginning, but how long have you lived in Beaverton, you said?
I've lived in Beaverton for 4 years. I retired from the Army after 28 years in January 2017. But I was raised in Salem. Big fond memories of big family trips up here to Kaiser Permanente and Uwajimaya. So as a kid. So that's, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if we don't have any more questions, again, Jerome, thank you so much for coming and sharing a little bit more about yourself and your visions for being on the city council. We appreciate that.
And thank you for your time. I'm going to type my email in the chat, and apologies to Ashley. I'm going to bail. I'm going to join another meeting at this going on at this time.
Perfect. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Ashley, welcome.
Thank you. How's everyone doing?
I think we're doing well. We've been stalling a little bit because we were ahead of schedule, so we're taking care of other items.
Well, thank you for waiting for me. I was doing voter outreach just before, and I had a team of volunteers with me. So thank you for pushing to 7:15 for me so I could get here. I so appreciate that. So my name is Ashley Hartmeier-Prigg, and I'm running for Beaverton City Council Seat 1. I grew up in Beaverton, and I've seen Beaverton grow and change. I've seen the downtown become a destination. I've seen severe weather that never occurred when I was younger. And we've all seen the city be resilient through a pandemic. I am currently the chair of the board of directors of the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District. And at THPRD, we've seen the importance of regional relationships. We've seen the importance of government acting in service to the people. And I believe my leadership experience at THPRD has prepared me to serve on the city council. We passed an affordable housing policy that will help bring over 600 affordable units to our area. We partnered to host shelters for people experiencing homelessness in our spaces during COVID-19 closures. And we created a new naming process for parks and trails to truly reflect the rich diversity of our community. Something that we just found out today that I have to share with you all is we've been advocating to our legislators to get some funding from the American Rescue Plan for bathrooms in our district. And State Rep Campos is recommending that our project be funded. And one of those restrooms we're hoping we will get to put at the trailhead at the Denny Fano Creek trailhead. So I know that's a popular biking place. So that we were just finding out today. So I'm excited to get to share that with you. But those relationships and those partnerships are going to be really helpful for me to hit the ground running at City Council. My term at THPRD does end this June 30th. And so someone else will be sworn into that board that will be elected this coming Tuesday. And I am really hopeful to earn the confidence of the voters on Tuesday as well. I'm here this evening because I know how important your work is in advising the city, helping our city to be more bike friendly and helping our city be more sustainable is important to me. In order for us to reduce our impact on our One Earth, having alternative forms of transportation is going to be key. I spend a lot of time on foot in Beaverton, and I often note the areas without bike lanes and without sidewalks. And I know we have a lot of opportunity in this space. I often share, I live less than 4 miles from where I work, and yet there is not a safe way for me to ride a bike. And that's a really a doable bike commute, but there's really not a safe route for me to do so. And so I definitely see areas of opportunity, and I'm really grateful that you all put your time into this advisory committee and help the city, make decisions on behalf of the residents. So I will leave plenty of time for questions because I think that's the most important thing is for you to have the ability to ask me questions and us to have a conversation.
Terrific. Well, thank you, Ashley. And I'll open it up to the committee. Questions, thoughts, comments?
provide any details about the bathroom? Like, is it going to be like a porta potty structure with multiple?
Yeah, so we requested funding so that we could have a modular structure. It would be a permanent bathroom. We are hoping to put in a facility that will have two separate bathrooms. All I know is that Rep Campos is recommending our project be funded, and so I don't know all the details yet, but our hope is to build a two-unit bathroom at that location, and there'd be two others hopefully in other parts of the district depending on the amount and level of funding that we get. So I'm really excited about that. I think we've all seen through the pandemic, right, how important hand washing is. And, when COVID caused so many different closures of our facilities at THPRD as well, and some of the places are more public places that got shut down, people lost access to hygienic facilities. So getting access to public bathrooms is something so critical, right? I think like the only one I can actually think of is, there's the one at City Park. And so we know this is such a critical need to serve our residents in our community. So I never thought I'd be this excited about bathrooms, but I'm really, really excited about this.
Thanks for the info.
Yeah, thanks for the question, and hopefully we'll get to share more soon. Thank you, Jean. Okay, well, I will also put my email in the chat. Feel free to send me a note if you have any questions. And I'll just throw a plug in for voting. It is too late to mail your ballot, so make sure you do get it to a drop off. If you don't know where the closest one to you is, check the county elections. You can Google Washington County ballot drop and find that. So please do feel free to reach out with any questions, and thank you so much for your service on this community on this committee and to your community, and thank you for having me.
Well, one quick question, just curious with your commute, what do you perceive as the issues and what would be some solutions that would make it a route that you would feel more comfortable riding? So I think that's one of the things we often see is the real or perceived barriers, and safety often being one of them to commuting.
So my route would include Canyon Road and Walker Road. And so I honestly would never even want to get on a bike in either of the spots that I would have to traverse. I mean, the majority would be on Walker Road. And I think it's let's see, I'm really terrible with directionals. I think it's the north side is the side that you're allowed to walk on. Right, it says pedestrians on the north side, even though there's like this much of a shoulder between the stripe and the hill, the core, the non-road surface. And so for me, as someone who, this is like such a personal story, but I crashed my bike when I was like 11 years old riding down in Beaverton, and I was past where I was allowed to go by myself, right? And so I was scared to come home and tell my mom that I crashed on my bike and I got hurt because I was technically breaking the rules. But ever since then, I've been, not super confident on a bike. And so for me to feel safe in a bike lane is super key, right? For me to feel like there's a safe route for me to get there. And so there's no bike lane, and in there's no sidewalk either, right? So it's not even like you have one or the other there to share with someone that might be on foot or using another, device with wheels. So I think sidewalks or bike lanes are going to be really key, right? To eliminate that safety barrier in my mind. And I know sidewalks are expensive, but we also have hopefully a big infrastructure package coming from our federal government, and it's a great opportunity for proposals out of this committee for us to push forward, right, and see what are the bike or bike lane or sidewalk options or something to help see what kind of infrastructure investment we can get to help us build that multimodal system in.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Well, again, Ashley, thank you for your time, and we appreciate you coming.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. And if you'd like to stick around here the rest of the meeting, by all means, feel free.
All right, thank you.
All right, Gene. So I think that brings us back to the Beaverton Creek Trail Project. Renee's here.
Renee and Gary.
Gary, yep.
Hi,
Hello.
how's everybody tonight?
Very good. And yourself? Thank you so much for coming and giving us this update on the Beaverton Creek Trail Project. Very interested.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to share this project with you. It's one we've been working on for a while, and we have our consultants on board, and we've been working with them for, oh gosh, maybe almost 2 years now. And so we've come a long ways, and I'm going to share that with you tonight. So the Beaverton Creek Trail segment 3 and 4 is from Hawken Avenue right behind the New Seasons, and it will go all the way over to the Westside Trail in the northeast corner of the nature park.
Okay.
So that will be our connection there. I'll just go ahead and move forward through this. Let's see. All right, can you see that?
I cannot.
Not yet.
All right, where do I find the share tab?
And the Zoom at the bottom, hover your mouse towards the bottom of the Zoom screen. And you'll see the green share screen button with the up arrow.
Oh, I pressed the wrong button. If I turn, can I close out of this screen? Let me see. I'm really sorry about this. I don't know what I did.
Are you finding the share screen button, Renee?
I'm sorry. No, I didn't find that. Let's.
You
I'm
look at the
gonna
Zoom
do some
screen
adjusting
where you
here.
see. Okay.
I found it. I'm sorry. I got it now. And I want to share this screen. This screen. All right. I think I found it.
Yes, you got it.
We good?
We're good.
Okay. So sorry about that. I think this is the second time I've worked on Zoom here. So I'm going to move some things around. So here we go. Our project, it's a new regional trail, Beaverton Creek Trail. And it's 1.5 miles. It will be a 12-foot wide paved trail with 2-foot gravel shoulders. It's located in central Beaverton, just about the center of our park district and the city of Beaverton. Our funding is through the Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Program, or MTIP, and our grant is through the RFFA. We also have matching funds that THPRD has provided. So we're in the planning phase right now, and we also have funds for the design and construction phase, and that is our second phase. We had a lot of constraints on this project, so it's kind of taken us down to a route where we pretty much have one. We thought we'd have several alternatives, but we've really come down to just one alternative. So I'll be sharing that alternative with you today. And our next slide is our trails functional plan, which will show circled in purple is the Beaverton Creek Trail location. The green on the left side of the purple is the nature park. And all of the red lines are the regional trails in the district. Any dashed ones or dotted ones, those are future trails. And that's where we are right here, right in the middle. So in this vicinity map, we're showing, the same area, maybe a little bit clearer to read. Again, the dashed red dotted line is the trail alignment. We have Max as the dotted gray line that goes through here, the Max light rail. And this is Murray cutting right down through the middle. A couple of our adjacent property owners are Nike and Tektronix, and we have the Nike woods here. And then our site map, which brings us down a little bit closer. Look and an aerial are always fun to kind of, get you all aligned where we're at. So up in here, the nature park and the Westside Trail is this red line that goes to the south and then cuts off to the northwest. We'll connect there and then run all the way kind of southeast, south of Nike, and then over to Cedar Hills crossing area. We've broken up the alignment into sections, and so I'll start with section 1. We're looking at connecting again right here at the nature park. So this will be, the Max line is here. So we'll run on the south side of the tracks and follow that alignment there. We'll cross 153rd and then stay on the south side of the tracks until we get to the Beaverton Creek Max station. And at the Max station, we will cross over an existing track crossing to the north side, and then we'll wander through the Nike woods. We're still in negotiations with Nike on what exactly that will look like, but we've been talking with them pretty regularly, and we'll be coming up with a decision on how to get through that wooded area here, hopefully within this 30% design coming up. So jumping back to 153rd Avenue crossing, this is a little bit closer look at what we're currently looking at, although with any of the crossings, we'll be dealing quite closely with the design, with the jurisdictions involved. So we'll be working with the city of Beaverton on 153rd, TriMet, of course, and ODOT Rail, who we will be working closely with ODOT Rail and their requirements for this area. So there'll probably be quite a few safety upgrades here. And here's a quick couple of photos coming up. This is the 153rd crossing, and we'd be looking to the west, and the trail would be on the ballast rock just to the south of, or the left side of the tracks there. And then we'd cut behind this telephone pole or power pole and catch the existing sidewalk. So we'll be doing some improvements right in there. It's quite an intersection with a lot of utilities in the area. So it will be really tricky for our engineers to work through all of this. And then we come to the Beaverton Creek Station, and we're looking west here as well. Again, the ballast rock is to the left side is where we're anticipating the trail going. So we would be in between the tracks and the large power lines here. And we connect to the trail on the left side of the screen there and make a little whoop-de-doo, which helps to slow pedestrians and bicyclists and commuters down before they cross the tracks. It also tries to force people into looking down the tracks either way so that they can be more aware of where the trains are if they're coming or in which track they're on. And then we'll cross over to the north side. We're anticipating a few additional improvements here at this crossing, possibly a flashing light or something. TriMet has been upgrading a lot of their crossings with pedestrian lighting or safety lighting. And then that takes us over into the woods, and then we'd hang a right. So in segment 2, after we would go through the Nike Woods and pop out at the south end there by Turbin, where we would cross over to the north side of Turbin. This area here is, so it has pretty good sight distances at this corner. So so that will be one of our second crossing of a road. So once we're on the north side, we continue and we cross over Turbin in this location here, this intersection, and then follow on the north side of Turbin, crossing Private Drive, Tektronix, and then through the right of way here to a crossing just before you get to Shannon Place, which is to the right a little bit further. There's an existing pathway that goes through this property. This is a Tektronix piece. And we would improve that trail and follow the alignment of that trail over to Shannon. And then at Shannon Place, we'll again cross over to the south side of Knowlton Drive, which is the entry drive to the Nike employee store. Here, let's see, and I think I've got some pictures of the Murray Underpass. Yep. So Murray Underpass, we would be on the left side of the road there. We'd be doing some restriping in here, of course, and the county says we've got plenty of room in here for full car lanes and a 12-foot trail. So that was good news, because that was a concern of ours when we were first looking at it. Was like, that could be a problem, but looks like we have pretty good right of way in there. And then this photo is showing from Shannon, which is running to the left and the right of the screen, Knowlton Drive, or the drive to the entry, to Nike's entry is right there, and the sidewalk on the south that we would hook to. If you look over to the west, you can see the trail that cuts across this grassy piece of property there. And at Shannon, again, we have another intersection for improvements. And Nike was concerned about this intersection in particular because it's very busy. They have a lot of people coming and going from their store and their facilities there, as well as traffic coming and going from the Max station, which is just to the south of the Nike area here. So some of the ideas that we have for improving this intersection and to help slow automobile traffic down is a raised crossing for bikes and peds, striped and signed, and also tightening up the curve, the radius into the drive, which would also cause cars to slow down before they turn into the onto Knowlton Road here. We would have a concrete path then for a short distance here, and then improve the existing sidewalk further to the south. And I'll show you that in section 3. So we come out, we come across Shannon, and then we're on the south side of Knowlton Road, and we'll follow an existing sidewalk on the south side all the way, all the way until about here. We have a very tight point right here in the corner where we're going to need to shift the radius of this curve further to the north so that we have enough room for our trail. The land, the property right here drops off pretty quickly right down to the creek. And we've got vegetated buffer and wetlands to consider all throughout this area, actually. So we're looking at providing that improvement right in that section. And then there is an existing trail that is a soft surface trail all the way out to the corner of Hall and Hawken. And we would be improving that into a hard surface 12-foot wide trail. So that's that's the end. This is the new seasons, if you guys are following me on that. And so I'll show you a picture of that corner right there. So we're on that would be the south west corner, and this on the other side over here is the Cedar Hills Crossing commercial area. So I'll run through some next steps, and then happy to take questions or comments or anything like that. So right now we're in our community engagement. We're informing the community that this project is moving forward, and we've got a preferred alignment, which is what you saw today. And we want to invite everyone to our May 20th virtual community meeting, and that would be at 6 o'clock next Thursday on the 20th. And you can find that at at our webpage, www.thprd.org, up in the upper right corner here. And you can also, at the bottom of the slide, is this will take you right to the page where you can access the meeting on the 20th. Our consultants are working right now on the preferred alternative development, and that would be 30% drawings. So we're getting down into a little more detail, and we'll be looking a little closer at all of our intersections and grades and things like that before we get into construction documentation at a later time. So we're seeking additional funds because we are short for construction. We do have some funds, but we're gonna need to be looking for more to complete the construction phase, which we are anticipating that to occur in 2025 and 2026. So we hope to start the construction documents and right-of-way phases next year, and that'll take a couple of years, and then we'll move into construction. If we can move any of these ahead so that we can start construction sooner, that's what we'd prefer. But there's a few things that we need to make sure that we've got our ducks in a row before we move too far ahead. So this is our anticipated timeline at this time. So thank you so much for listening. Happy to take some questions, and if you have any comments.
Thank you so much, Rene, for that great overview. Let's open it up to the committee. Any questions, comments?
Thank you very much for that presentation. I used to work at Tektronix for a long time and building 50, and I'm real familiar with that whole area. And I think the layout is real sensible. And I'm glad you avoided a crossing of Mulligan, which is treacherous with high-speed traffic. So I applaud the thinking that went into it, and the connection to the Westside Trail. So thank you very much.
We're pretty excited about having this gap connect, especially when it's connecting so close to the Crescent connection in Beaverton. And it'll be nice when we have that short little segment right there from Hawken over to, oh gosh, it's not Dawson. It's, is that Dawson over there by the Goodwill? Anyways, getting that connection, that'll be great.
Well, Rene, one question I was curious about is with the trail, the proximity to the max track, is there going to be any type of fencing or barrier being put up between the trail and the tracks, just for off chance of accidents, people might end up on the tracks?
Yeah. Have you been on the, we called it the Westside to Waterhouse Trail, the Waterhouse Trail at the north end of the nature park?
Right.
Yeah, so you'll know that there's a fence all along there. It would be the same. We would continue that fence all along tracks. That's a safety feature. And that'll be a requirement from TriMet.
Okay. Yeah, I think going long term, and I ride down Murray frequently and then loop underneath Murray and go on that. It's always, at least the time that I'm there is low traffic volume. So I think that'll be a good.
Yeah, it seems to be a pretty low traffic route through there. So that's nice too.
Any other questions or input?
Mike, Amanda, and then Michael.
Okay.
They both have their hands up.
Okay, Michael and Amanda.
So I live right by the Beaverton Creek Max Stop, and I use the current gravel road by Tektronix and Nike to walk over to New Seasons. Well, it's the pandemic, so currently like every other month, but before it used to be like every other week. I'm glad to see some development going on there. It's a really lovely trail that goes through quieter areas. It's a really nice alternative to Mulligan, given that Mulligan only has sidewalk on one side of the street on the south side.
Right.
Are there any concerns about when you build up the pavement under the Murray Underpass? Any extra traffic from crossing from the Nike Woods and then crossing the little jug handle that goes up to Murray? So that is like 2 or 3 crossings in a row.
Yeah, it is. And part of the reason we went to the north side is that on the south side underneath the overpass is a guardrail. So there's a guardrail in there that we'd have to take into consideration. And then all of the south side drops off very quickly into the wetlands in the creek area over there, Beaverton Creek. You know, that was one of our first thoughts was could we go on that south side? And because of those reasons there, we opted to go to the north side. We would be building up after you go under the underpass, we have 2 crossings.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be an island between there that will raise that up. So it becomes instead of just a striped on the street, it'll be raised up and be more of a secure safety zone between those 2 crossings there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, when I walk that to catch the trail, I'm on the south side where that little convenience path currently is. So it always seems to me like there's not quite enough space to have an ideal pedestrian area. But I mean, I'm glad to hear that it's something you guys are thinking about during development.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a question. Thanks so much for the presentation. This looks like a really great project. With the Mulligan Underpass, I'm not super familiar with the area, but lighting seems like it would be a concern for that particular section. Is what's the sort of plan for that aspect of it?
Right. So currently we'll probably have lighting at all of the street crossings. I think that's not only a requirement, but that would be an important safety feature to have at some of those. And especially like you said, in that area. I'm not sure what the lighting is from, you know, the ambient lighting that you get from Murray. If they have any lighting up there on the bridges, that would also help in that area. But we are anticipating having lighting at all of the street crossings.
And Corey?
Yeah, I wanted to ask maybe for the group, what are the biggest challenges and how could you make it better if some hurdles were removed?
What would be the biggest challenges or could you repeat that, please?
What are the biggest challenges and what's preventing you from making some things better?
Some of the challenges are that most of the trail is in private property or on the edge within right of way. So working with our neighbors is really crucial on this project. And I think that's one of the big ones is, and we feel actually very fortunate that we have made these connections with the property owners adjacent to the trail, and they've been very willing to work with us on the design and how the trail goes through the area. Other constraints out in the area is the creek itself and the slopes. We're also in a 100-year floodplain zone, so we'll be needing to be very, very careful about how we grade the site. That will be minimum. And it is nice that it's pretty flat already. What are the other constraints? Well, it's always tough to try to squeeze in a trail in an urban area. And following the tracks and crossing in the street crossings, those are always tough. Have I answered your question?
Well, it's pretty open-ended, so if those are the biggest challenges, then yeah.
Just a couple of quick ones. Is with some of these street crossings, I saw there were some advisory signs with crossing. Is there going to be any consideration of like rapid flashing beacons or anything like that? I think like 153rd, where sometimes there's more traffic.
Yeah. Have you crossed over at the Merlot Max station over there and seen the trail that crosses there?
Yes.
So it will be very similar to that probably with the rapid flashing beacons. And so we'll need to know the distance from the track to the crossing so that if cars get stuck in between when the crossing arms come down and the rapid flashing beacon goes off, then you've got enough room to stack a couple cars in there without being in the crossing or being in the crosswalk. So those are some of the things that they'll be working through with ODOT Rail and TriMet in the city or county as we move forward.
And I guess the only other one I have that's curious, and Corey, you might have some input on this, is with the crossing being at the max stop, any modifications to the platform to be accommodating people on the trail as well as people that are coming on and off max trains?
Were you asking me or someone else?
Well, both you and Corey, just because I know Corey involved with TriMet.
I worked, I sat on the little advisory committee, I guess you could call it, with Nike and TriMet when they were working on that crossing. Mm-hmm. And they were aware that we would be putting in a trail.
Okay.
And so that's why they increased the width of the platform on the south side of the crossing and provided the guards in there. So we can hook right into that. But as time has passed, we are aware that they are looking at upgrading their safety features even further, which may be something that we take on as we provide, as more people come and use the crossing, they may want us to improve that a little bit further. So we just don't know at this time what that's going to be.
Terrific. Well, Rene and Gary, thanks again so much. This moves forward. Definitely, please let us know and come back and give us updates.
Oh, I'd be happy to. Yeah, we're very excited about getting this going and moving forward with it. So thank you so much for listening, everyone. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, I'm going to put my email in the chat, and I'll also put in the link to the meeting next week, the virtual community meeting. So thank you.
Thanks for your time. All right, that brings us to our last item in our roundabout meeting of May. Beaverton Downtown Loop. And Dan, I see you're here. I see you're in their office.
That's right. Thanks, Mike. Let me see if I can successfully share my screen. I apologize that this presentation is in PDF, so I think it'll be a little smaller for you guys, but it should still be okay. Where is it? There we go. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, thank you for having me, guys, on what's a busy meeting for you. And once again, I showed up a little late for these meetings and wasn't able to hear the candidates. Thank you for the opportunity. The last time Jean and I spoke to you was, I believe it was in the fall, late fall, and that was just to give you a brief introduction to our project, which was about to begin. And so we're very happy to be back to present to you guys again. Our goals today, and I'm going to try to make this presentation as short as possible so that I can get your feedback on some important things. But first, I'd like to give you some information. The first is sort of an update on our community engagement activities for the project. And then I'd like to share with you in a rather quick way some of the key findings from the inventory and analysis phase of the project, where we went out and basically cataloged and to a certain extent analyzed what the conditions are along the loop downtown, along Hall and Watson. And then the most important part is to get your input on those very things, the inventory and analysis. Hold on. So as a brief introduction, the loop is a concept to combine or to link Beaverton Central and Old Town, the two main parts of the downtown, by reimagining how the streets and sidewalks are, how they look and how they're used. Right now, we are in the planning process of this project. The goal of the planning process is to come up with a conceptual design that basically gives us a clear idea of where we're heading. It is in a design that will be readily buildable. There would still be the additional step of going through the preliminary engineering. But the idea is really to come up with what is it that this is going to look like and how is it going to work in very specific parts of Hall and Watson. The project schedule, we're kind of midway. We're finishing up inventory and analysis and heading towards design alternative development. And that's why we'd like to get your feedback on what's out there. And the goal is to have the plan adopted in September. So in terms of community engagement, we have a website set up. We've established a community advisory committee. Michael's been a great member so far. Thank you, Michael, for your involvement. We've had two activities that are going on right now. One is in-depth interviews where we've picked out a handful of people, ideally people that represent groups that we haven't really been able to touch base with yet, to get to talk to them for a good amount of time to see, you know, how their lived experience is with the downtown and with the loop. That's ongoing. Hope to finish that this month. The other activity is an activity that you guys can take part on. And maybe some of you guys have seen some of the A-frames that we've put up downtown. Basically, it's a smartphone-based survey at about 4 different places along the loop that asks you some questions about that location. So the idea is to get your feeling and opinions about what's going on at that location. For example, one of them is Hall and Canyon, right when you're standing there. These are the locations. Here's one of the A-frames that I set up. Hopefully it's still there. It was as of last couple of days ago. This will be going, yeah.
It is there because I did it today. It is all of them are there, and we could successfully navigate the full loop successfully.
All right. Well, thank you. I should have asked you to do it every day and let me know. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now, and these two engagement activities are really asking people again, you know, what's out there? What are some opportunities? What are some constraints for things to do? These will be finishing up along with this phase towards the end of this month. The community mapping finishes on May 17th. And then we move into coming up with design alternatives and coming back to people to see what they think about those alternatives. So there are two main ways that we're going to do that. One, of course, is the CAC, the Community Advisory Committee. The other two are having an option survey, which will be similar to the community mapping, where we can reach out to a good amount of people. And then the big event would be a virtual open house, where we'd be presenting the project and getting opinions on design alternatives. So those would be coming up in July. All of this information we're updating on the website as to when and where it's occurring virtually. So now I'd like to get into the crux. I'd like to present you guys a little bit of what we've amassed in terms of what are the existing conditions out there and the opportunities and constraints in terms of the Loop project. And the Loop's goal is to improve the pedestrian and bicycling experience downtown. So we're looking at opportunities for doing that and constraints for being able to do that. So I'm going to go through this document rather quickly, just pointing out a few things, but I thought it would be good to mention some things and then have more questions or comments from you guys, and I can certainly scroll back to that part of the screen. As you'll see, we have a good amount of information that we've amassed. Let's just start going. So first, in terms of what's out there, looking at the frontage, there are various different types of frontages out there, some that are more pedestrian friendly, some that, so for example, in the bottom right here, where it's just, there's either a vacant lot or there's a wall. So up and down Hall and Watson, we've mapped those locations and kind of what the frontage looks like and whether or not it's really supporting the type of pedestrian and bicycling street activity that we'd like to generate. The Loop is located in a rather flat area with clay soil, and it's a lot of impermeable uses of land. So there's a runoff and there's a stormwater solution that needs to be part of what we do within the right of way of the street. Everything mainly is flowing north. And there's some new limitations in terms of clean water services. So this is something that we need to keep in mind as well as we're designing the public infrastructure of the right of way. The tree canopy we looked at, there are parts of the tree canopy that are missing. There are parts of the tree canopy that are very, very nice. City Park, for example, in the bottom left corner, there are places where there are nice trees, but maybe not in the exact perfect location. For example, in A here, Watson north of 4th and City Park, the sidewalk is cut off by these trees, the sort of the functional part of the sidewalk. And this is something that, as we look at ways of improving the space and the feeling for pedestrians, that, we need to take into account. And of course, it varies as, for example, E here along the truck ranch, there's not much of a canopy there right now. The sidewalk conditions, which are uneven, very inconsistent, and, the location of the trees is a challenge at times. At times there's an incompatibility between having a functional sidewalk space and having a tree be able to grow comfortably there and safely. The right of way along Hall and Watson varies. There are some significant pinch points, for example, on Hall south of Canyon, where it's only 53 feet instead of on average 60 feet. There are other places where the right of way is quite a bit more. For example, Hall north of Canyon, where you have 3 lanes. So this is something that we've mapped and we're going to take into account as we're looking for solutions as to how to divide the space between the modes within the right of way. Some opportunities where there's an extra lane or an extra space, and some constraints as to where there's not a lot of space to begin with. Just again, the sidewalks, there's some very, very wide sidewalks on Watson north of Mulligan. we looked at the concept of the pedestrian through zone, which is basically the space that people have to be able to go through on the sidewalk, which can be different than the actual width, physical width of the sidewalk. So we went out there and mapped this. This is the result of it. As you can see, there's varying wider sidewalks here in the north, in the transition zone. You know, there are some places where, you know, there are some planters and things that are, you know, limiting that functional space. In the south, you see these little red dots. Those are mainly, I believe, where trees or other fixtures are. So those are areas in which there's a little bit of thought needs to go into how to make it work, you know, for pedestrians, but also for, you know, the aesthetics and everything that trees bring. The bicycle system, you know, there are places where there are bicycle lanes. The bicycle lanes are mainly a minimum width. They're not protected. And then there are areas in which there's just an abrupt, for example, going north on Hall at Broadway abruptly ends. And then, you know, at the north part of the loop itself, there is a connection here with Crescent, but I'm sure you guys are well aware of, you know, this bridge over the creek is rather limiting, and it really makes it a little difficult to continue there as a bicyclist. To the south, there's a nice connection to an east-west axis of Fifth Street. In terms of transit, we have a couple lines that go through, and one of them up and down the loop, the 76. So, you know, it's there's some transit that can be leveraged and made and improved upon in terms of improving access for different people with different needs, mobility-wise or interests. In terms of the vehicular system, this is a mapping of the number of lanes. There are places where there are 3 through lanes, places to the south where only 2 through lanes, one way. And then, you know, according to some of the intersections, there's an additional lane for turning. There are some opportunities perhaps to take a lane and transition it to being another use. And, you know, some places where, you know, it would be more difficult. We mapped the crash data and we focused on the locations where there had been some pedestrian crashes, bicycle crashes, and, you know, trying to take that into account. You know, this project is to improve the pedestrian experience, and safety is a big consideration there, and also for bicycles. These last few slides, there's a lot of text here, but basically, and we're focusing, you know, on the main intersections with Canyon and Farmington, and, you know, they present big barriers for both pedestrians and bikes to be able to safely go through and also go through in a timely manner. There's a whole slew of ways that they can be improved. There's a lot of opportunities for some solutions that would, you know, make a big difference. Including in the safety area. One of the things that's already happening in terms of an opportunity is transitioning these 2 streets to a lower speed limit, which would be rather helpful. You know, the issue with pedestrians and bicycling is not just the cross traffic and the ability to cross the intersections, but also what's going on up and down Hall and Watson with that traffic, which is not insignificant, and certainly helping that traffic through traffic calming and other measures would make them easier to cross for pedestrians and safer to move along for bicycles. So thank you for your patience. Hopefully that wasn't too much, and I was coherently saying some of the key points. But what Jean and I would really like to hear is get your input on, you know, what are the loops, you know, what are the loop's existing streetscapes assets? You know, what's out there that we really like, that's good, that's working, that we don't want to lose. And then at the other end, you know, what needs to change? You know, what's the thing that, you know, we really should be focusing on to make the improvements that we'd like. And as we're thinking about making those improvements, what kind of challenges, you know, would there be? And then, you know, is there anything that we've missed? Yeah, so with that, I'd love to open it up to your comments. And of course, if you have any comments to clarify something that I've presented, we can go back to that as well. And, you know, Jean, of course, is here to help, and she's very knowledgeable as well. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan. Let's open it up. Questions, comments, input. Amanda.
There we go. So I'm sure one of the challenges you face in making the loop very pedestrian and user friendly is how many automotive dealerships are in our downtown area in that proposed loop space. I'm wondering if one of the things you could think about doing to mitigate just how harsh it can make the landscape is to look into trees, really thoughtful landscaping, use of greenery to soften those areas along all the automotive parks. I know when my husband and I walk from Mulligan down to the library, we usually try to avoid those areas because they're not the most pleasant to walk in, and maybe some greenery could help make that a little more pedestrian friendly, walking or biking friendly.
Amanda, that's great. I want to take advantage to ask you, when you guys do that walk, what's your favorite part of the walk? First of all, how do you go? What's your favorite part and what's your worst part of that walk?
Yeah, so typically we walk all the way down Mulligan, and then depending on how crazy the BG food cartel is, we'll either walk around that or mask up and walk past it, and then we'll usually head down Watson. One of the hardest parts for us is trying to figure out how we're going to cross the combination of Canyon and Farmington to reach the downtown area. So sometimes if we think the lights are going our way, we'll just go straight down Watson and we'll wait if we have to. If we know it's a fresh green in the wrong direction, sometimes we'll just go down Watson, then over on Canyon, and then down on Hall on the sidewalk. Some of our challenges in walking specifically to the library is figuring out how we're going to cross Hall Boulevard when there are no traffic lights on all those little in-betweeny streets.
Yep, that's right. Amanda, I have to ask you, I mean, this is the Bicycle Advisory Committee. Do you take that trip biking sometimes?
I've done it, but I'll readily admit, I don't always feel comfortable biking on the left side of a street, even though it's one way, just because I think all of us have this headspace. You're used to seeing the bikes on the right side of the street. But if I'm going down Watson to get to the library, hanging out on the edge of the left lane is really the ideal place to be, so I can catch my left turn to get there. And likewise, on the way home, when I'm going up Hall, I need to eventually hang a left onto Mulligan. Right. So same challenge.
Yeah, thank you.
Dan, I had a question. Are the yellow lights, the timing of the yellow lights in Beaverton harmonized, or are there some shorter yellow lights and longer yellow lights at other intersections? Because this has tripped me up.
Yeah, you know, it trips me up trying to drive, and I'm always nervous about the cameras as well. You know, I swear that there is some variation. I don't know, Jean, is that just perception?
I'm gonna offer, John, that we can get back to you with more info on how the yellow lights, what the timing is on those. Our city traffic engineer is better equipped to answer that than Dan or I. There's specific guidelines that they follow, so. But I don't have a good answer for you tonight. So why are you curious about the yellow light?
Well,
the yellow phase of the signal.
The root of that question was I really liked seeing the countdown timers. The yellow light where the bike gallery is, where Hall crosses at bike gallery. I've almost been nailed there a couple of times because if you enter the intersection and just as you enter the intersection, it turns yellow, you're going to have a hard time getting across that intersection, even on a bike.
Got it.
So
interesting.
I do like the countdown timers because at least, you know, I know that it takes me 3 or 4 seconds on a bike to get to an intersection there. And at least I can judge for myself. And I have experienced this at several other intersections in downtown Beaverton. It seems like there are 3-second yellow lights, and then there are 4-second and 5-second. And perhaps there is a correlation with the cameras, but it would just, countdown timers would be terrific. But more generally, I think it'd be great if we could somehow settle on a uniform length of the yellow light in this area.
Thanks, John. Yeah, you know, with these intersections, and especially the major ones, you know, there are a lot of tools in the toolkit. There are a lot of seemingly little things that can be adjusted that would improve an experience.
So yeah, so I had a couple of comments. Yeah, so I was coming from Watson going south. So we were 4 of us biking, and we were crossing Farmington. So we got the green. We started pedaling. Only 2 of us could make through it, and even we were about 3/4 of the way when the signal turned red. So that there was hardly any time for 4 bikes to cross. So my first question is, does the camera sense bicyclists, or probably not? And
I don't believe that. Yeah, I don't believe it does. Gene, you can correct me. Those particular ones.
Yeah, so you're saying you're going southbound on Watson, and you're there at that signal at Broadway.
Crossing the
that
tracks.
Then is the
Yeah.
signal at Farmington.
It's quite wide there.
Yeah, you're saying the detection doesn't pick you up.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's helpful feedback, and we can find out more about that and what detection we do have at the signal, and you know, it's helpful to have feedback for that you as a cyclist aren't getting detected, because that's we don't want to have that. We want you to be able to be found and
we were 4 of us. Yeah, and we were 4 of us. So it was a big like 4 bicyclists. Still, it did not detect. And the second point was, we were entering Farmington. The road, there's a bump. Probably when you go in a vehicle, you'll not find it.
That's right.
Yeah, that bump is it's about 4 inch. One of us nearly toppled up because we were pedaling hard to cross it fast, and then we hit the bump.
Yep. I met that one when I was biking here from City Hall to drop off some books at the city library and come back. Yeah,
Yes.
It's unexpected. You don't feel it in a car.
Correct. And in the road, you don't expect that. Yeah, so those are the 2 comments.
Thank you. Those are very helpful. Thank you, Ananda.
Yeah. Thanks.
I can follow up on that, Dan and Jean. The history of that bump is with, I think it's CSX, that's their tracks. And a number of years ago, they corrected it, and it didn't last very long before the tracks shifted again and that bump was there. So that definitely is an issue as you're coming south on Watson there. I frequently come across on Mulligan on training rides and go by the BG food carts as well. And the street that's immediately to the west of City Hall that goes across the Max tracks, that's becoming an increasingly busy area with people that are parking and walking over to the food carts. And it's only controlled with the stop sign on either side of Mulligan. So whether there's anything to look at as far as a traffic control there, and frequently what I find is that the cars that are driving north-south are treating it like a 4-way stop, but I know there's some issues because of the Max track and the timing when the crossing may be closing there. The other
Mike,
thing,
are you talking? Hey, Mike.
Rose
Hey, Mike.
BG.
Can I stop you for a sec? You're talking about Rose BG.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just say briefly, it has to do with the Max track,
Right.
and there's history there trying to help orient people about how they're supposed to behave.
Mike, you're
So,
bringing
yeah.
up bad daily memories for me. That's what I have to face when I drive home. And it's, you know, there are a lot of people that go to those food carts, and, you know, luckily people are cars are yielding to them, but it is a little unsettling. I agree. And especially that's in a vehicle, yet alone if you're biking.
The other, I'm just curious, long-term is immediately south of Farmington on Watson, where the parking lane's been taken for seating at the restaurants. If that's going to be a long-term solution. It's crimped the bike lane a little bit, but I think overall it's safer as opposed to getting doored by somebody that's opening a car door there. Those are my only inputs I have on that area.
So Mike, I can give you a little bit of background on the stop sign at Rose BG.
Mhm.
So it's oriented on Rose BG because you don't want the queue for the stop sign to back up across the max tracks. So there's not really going to be an appetite at all ever with ODOT rail to change that configuration.
I guess the other quick question is the involvement of ODOT with Canyon being involved with this project and looking at crossings or modifications to crossings, things like that.
Well, I'll let Gene answer that one. But Mike, it's interesting. I just want to catch what you were saying. What you're saying is that when you're going down south on Watson and you're going by the plastic jersey barriers,
Right.
that to you on a bike feels more comfortable and safer than if that was parked cars. Is that what you're saying?
I feel a little bit. Simply
Okay.
because there isn't the opportunity that somebody is going to not look and open their car door in front of me into the bike lane.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. I agree with Mike on that. Sure.
Gene, I'll let, since you've lived this more than I have, I'll let you answer about ODOT.
I think just for the Canyon Road crossings, those are an ODOT facility. We mentioned the Community Advisory Committee. Michael's a part of that. We also have a Technical Advisory Committee, and that's made up of staff from both the City of Beaverton as well as our partner agencies. So we are engaging with ODOT staff there, and we'll be continuing to reach out to ODOT technical staff, their Region 1 roadway and traffic staff. Once we're at a place where we need to talk with them about some potential design options that we'll plan for the loop. Crossing canyons, you brought it up here tonight. It's probably, if it's in the top list of complaints, if not sort of the number one, really has been how do we get across Canyon and Farmington? That really seems to be the top concern and the real top barrier to the project. So they'll definitely be a part of our conversations as we move forward. So hopefully that gets at your question, Mike.
Yeah, that's appreciate it. Any other questions, comments? I know we're bumping up against the end here.
Oh, time.
But we've ended early a couple other meetings, so I'm feeling a little bit of.
By the way, I really appreciate the comments. They're very specific and they have to do with your experience biking up and down Hall and Watson. So that's great.
All right. Well, Dan, Gene, thank you so much. And please keep us up to date. We're happy to continue to provide that input to you. Councilor Hasan had a couple important things that she wanted to share with us. We're going to do that and then we'll kind of wrap it up.
Yeah, and I don't want to take too much time. There's just two things that I want to say. I haven't had a chance at City Council because we've been so busy. But I do want to share that we've had some family in India that we've lost due to COVID. And I've been wanting to bring it up in the City of Beaverton meetings. We just have not had time. And so I'm just, we have a huge Indian community here in Beaverton. And so just check on your friends. We've lost several relatives now, and it has been really hard and it feels really far away. So I just want to encourage you all to check in on folks that you might know that have family in India. Quite honestly, I didn't realize how bad it was until we started losing people and hearing about that. So that's sort of one thing to put out there. We have a huge Indian community in Beaverton. And the second piece, which is so different than what I just shared, is just please remember to vote. The deadline to turn your ballot in is on Tuesday. We have a lot of high stakes races happening here in Beaverton and across the state as well. And so please do your research. Look online, check your voter's pamphlet statement, and get your ballot in by Tuesday. We're about 15% voter turnout in Washington County, which, you know, we could do better. So that's all.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Anybody else, anything to share, comments you want to make? Well, thanks again for all of your input tonight with our presenters. The one thing I wanted to mention is that every month, Jean, myself, and Amanda work at kind of planning. We sort of have a plan going forward for each month and the ideas of things we're going to be putting in. And I really want these meetings to reflect your interests, your concerns related to bicycling, pedestrian activities here in Beaverton. So if there are topics that are important to you, areas or some issue where you're seeing, why don't you try to pass those along leading up in the month to Jean and myself and Amanda, and we can kind of plug those in. So really this group is truly representing what the concerns are out there on the roads in our community. Other than that, I'm sorry I owe you 4 minutes. Enjoy, go out and have fun in the weather that we have, and we will see you in June. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Ride safely.